Alright, today I'm going to give all you liberty lovers 10 reasons not to vote for Ron Paul, and I'm going to prove to you he is not in it to win it. So, 10 reasons not to vote for Ron Paul. Number 10. He only gets donations from little people. I know he has these Moneybomb things, and he gets thousands of people to contribute small amounts of money, but that's not important. We need to focus on candidates that get big-time donations from corporations like Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley. I mean, people like Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. Those are the important donations. All these little ones, they don't mean anything. Number 9, Ron Paul wants to stop the government from spying on American citizens. Now, how naive is he? This is the 21st century. I mean, there could be a jihadist under every other bed. Personally, I think we need to have a camera installed in every home, maybe even a computer chip in every person. Ron Paul needs to wake up and realize that the only way to really protect liberty is to give it up. Number 8, Ron Paul is far too concerned about the debt. Doesn't he realize that's why we have the printing presses? Things get tight, just print off couple $1 trillion and everything will be fine. So all this talk about cutting spending and cutting this and cutting that, it's all unnecessary. We have all the money we want at the touch of a button. And just ask 1920s Germany how well that worked for them. Number 7, Ron Paul did not support the Wall Street bailouts. How out of touch with reality is this guy when he thinks we should actually hold big banks and their CEOs accountable for their actions? I mean, come on, this is America, the land of welfare. We bail out the poor, we bail out the rich, everybody gets a bailout, and the banks are no different. Besides, doesn't Ron Paul realize that our economy couldn't possibly survive without these big investment banks making trillion-dollar leveraged bets on highly volatile assets? I mean, come on, that's a pillar to any economy, and we need to support the banks. Number 6, Ron Paul knows nothing about healthcare. Yes, I know he's been a doctor for 50 years. I know he's delivered 5,000 babies, and he's run his own practice for 30 years. But come on. These are decisions that need to be left up to career politicians, people like Mitt Romney, people like Barack Obama. They understand these issues. And who knows more about healthcare than politicians? Nobody. Number 5, Ron Paul wants to end the war on drugs, one of the most successful programs in American history. And yes, I know prohibition didn't work that well in the 1930s, but drug prohibition is very important. And I know it cost the taxpayers $76 billion a year, but just think about a world where people would be free to smoke weed in their parents' basement and play video games. I mean, it's just frightening to even think about. I would much rather pay big-time money to make sure those guys are locked up. And, I mean, what better treatment could there be for a drug addict than throwing them in a cage with a bunch of other drug addicts and violent criminals? They're going to sort something out. They're going to figure something out, and I bet they'll come out of prison a changed individual. So that's a program we need to keep. Number 4, Ron Paul wants to end all foreign aid. I mean, can you believe the audacity of this guy? He wants to cut off the billions that we send overseas to our longtime allies like Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Egypt, and yes, Israel. But forget the fact that we send Israel's enemies twice as much money as we actually send Israel. The bottom line is we just need to focus on continuing to send out the checks. I mean, the only allies and friends you can really count on are the ones you have to pay for. Number 3, Ron Paul wants to get rid of the Federal Reserve. Now, how dare the Republicans nominate someone who wants to protect the financial sovereignty of the United States? I mean, those people at the Federal Reserve have worked hard for years to secretly control every aspect of our economy. And at a minimum, we owe it to them to let them remain highly secret. But in all fairness, we really should pay them all the money that they created out of thin air and lent to us. We should pay that all back with interest and don't ask any questions. Yes, I know it's counterintuitive, but obligations are obligations, and the Federal Reserve is very, very important. Number 2, Ron Paul wants to end all the wars we're in. How can he not realize that all these wars are great for our economy? Because one, anybody who's studied Keynesian economics knows war is just great for the economy. I mean, break a window, we'll pay to buy a new one. Doesn't that make sense? And secondly, we got the printing presses. So things get a little tight, we can borrow here, print there, we're going to be fine. We need these wars to keep the economy booming. And I don't want to hear any of this talk about what the troops say, all right? I know the troops support Ron Paul more than any other candidate, including Barack Obama. But again, what do the troops know? These are decisions that need to be left to politicians. They are experts at warfare, and we just need to leave the decisions up to them. The troops, we respect you, but your opinion doesn't count. And lastly, the number one reason why we should not vote for Ron Paul. He's too consistent. I mean, the guy hasn't flip-flopped in 30 years. You can't be the American president if you don't flip-flop. The president needs to be a master, like an amoeba, constantly changing his views and opinions to fit the will of the people. And Ron Paul, he's too consistent, he's too principled. He can't be the president. Bust your bubble, all you Ron Paul fanatics, but that's the way it is. So please don't bother me with a bunch of facts and logic and history. I get my news from Fox and CNN, and that's what matters. So good luck with your campaign there, and hope you realize it doesn't really matter because your voice doesn't count.